So in this video we're going to take a look at how we are going to attach these hinges to our box. So I've got my two hinges and I've actually taped my box back together. Not too tight, but just enough to kind of keep it together, because the first thing you want to do is flip it on its side and kind of mark. You can see I've already got a mark. It's just barely visible there and there. Mark about where you want your hinges to go. So I'm going to put my hinge on those marks, and then I'm going to mark the little circles or the cutouts where the screws are going to go. So I'm going to mark those 4 on each side, so 8 total. And again, you just want to keep your hinge fairly square. You want to have a nice kind of that hinge part right on the actual gap, and just go ahead and mark your 4 holes for each hinge. Alright, we've got our 8 marks on there. I'll go ahead and take the tape off at this point. We can do these separately now. And the next thing that you want to do is you want to set up the drill bit. Now it might be set up for you, kind of depends on the last person that used it, but here's the important step from this. We use a little piece of tape kind of as a flag. You can see as it spins around, it almost looks like a flag. We're going to, you got to check that piece of tape, because everybody's box is a little bit different as far as the thickness goes. This flag is set up so that if I drill all the way just until the flag touches the top of the wood, it will not go all the way through. We do not want to poke through to the inside, because then there'll be a hole and you'll have to deal with that in a different way. So set that up, double check that if you run it all the way to the flag, it's not going to poke through. You can get very close, but you don't want to go all the way through. And the screws can bore out a little bit of the wood, but we want to drill this pilot hole just to make it a little bit easier to get these small screws in. So I'm going to drill, try to get it as straight up and down as possible, these 8 holes, and I'm going to only go as far as the tape flag. So here's a side view, and I'll just show you one example of how I'm going to drill these through. I'm going to take my drill bit, set it right on my mark, and I'm going to try to hold this straight up and down as best I can. You don't want to go in at an angle. And I'm just going to slowly drill. You can kind of blow some of the dust out of the way until I get to that point where the flag is really almost touching the wood. And you can actually pull it out by just continuing to drill it in, or to squeeze the trigger. It'll slowly pull back up. Now with the holes drilled out, it's just a matter of taking this small screwdriver and drilling or screwing in these small little screws. You really want to take your time with this. Don't over tighten it, or don't try to do it too quick. These screws are not meant to be, they're not very strong. They're just made out of real cheap kind of brass material. So, screw them in tight, but don't over tighten them. You don't want to strip them out. It'll kind of ruin the look of it. And if we ever have to make any adjustments, then you won't be able to get your hinges apart if you'd ever need to do that. So I recommend screwing them in and just making sure that everything fits nicely. And once you do that, then unscrew them and finish your box. Put the coat of finish on with the hinges off. It's just easier to do. You got 2 pieces that you can just determine how you want to put those together, but we don't want to get finish all over it. So use you don't even have to screw them in that tight right now. We're just trying to make sure that, all right, well, the box hinge fine. Okay, so that one works out fine. And then unscrew them and then finish your box. Then you can attach the hinges at the very end. So if you're using paint, you don't have to worry about painting around them. You don't have to worry about finish building up around the hinges. You can do all of that after. And then when it's really finally done, you do want to tighten them in a little bit more than that. You don't want to leave them up as high as I've done here. But we're going to take these apart to finish it, so you can really screw them in quite tight. But again, be careful not to try to spin. You don't want this to spin inside there because you'll break the screw apart.